Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Turntable Currents. Here I am again, man. It worked out. I'm still messing with lighting this microphone, but it was kind of a little muffled for my taste. But I'm gonna keep trying and see what we can do. But I think the sound is a little bit better. Um, Thank you for all those that watched and commented. I haven't responded to anybody, but I really dig your comments. And I'm hoping to grow this again and stay consistent, hopefully. But having fun. I um, I like hearing from people, especially people I haven't heard from in a long time. So it's always very welcomed, like I said. But had a good birthday. Um, my lady actually stayed home 2 days, but she was sick. But we still went out and just had some time together. Um, I actually did some dollar bin digging. Um, Found a few things. I haven't gotten through them all, but I'll show a couple that I've listened to um, since I've had some time. But other than that, we went out, had a good meal, a couple good meals, and that's what it's all about. Just taking it easy, taking it slow, and jamming. That's what I like to do. But anyways, I know the last one was kind of long, but it was kind of a welcome back video, introduction, blah blah blah, and but it's all good. It's all good. This is early morning. I'm a night bat. You know, I like to stay up and chill out. And I've been watching some YouTube videos. Kind of when I was in my seclusion era of, like I was talking about in my last video, of just kind of healing and just going through and doing my thing. I found myself watching a lot of just different YouTube videos. Nothing really vinyl related, other than maybe the occasional amoeba or that vinyl obsession guy that talks about your five. He has some people on, uh, musicians or known people that talk about their five greatest albums. So that was kind of comforting. Um, I'm drinking some tea in my peace mug. I've got a few of them, but this is what the world needs. You know it. This is all my life. I've been preaching and trying to achieve, um, to the world and with inner peace. Actually, um, you've got to you've got to be at peace with yourself and your traumas, and let all that shit go in order to be a peaceful person in life to everyone else. You know, it's not selfish. You just have to make sure that you're right to spread it. And at this age, at this time in my life, I'm still trying to achieve it. I hope I have many, many more years that I can practice. And to me, it's not a symbol, man. It's just not a symbol. It's a way of living and seeing the world, perceiving and observing, and you know, loving one another. You know, if you've known me on here, that's always been my mantra, man. Love and peace, and it's not a corny thing. It's I believe there's a spirit out there still. I believe in it, and so I find comfort in music and song and uh, fellowship of people. that we can get together and get it on, and you know be calm and peaceful and supporting each other. So I drink out of mugs, or I see the sign. I is just a reminder. It's a symbol to me, um, of just a reminder. Um, whether it's just a regular mug, um, you'll see me on here. I drink a lot of coffee. This is tea. I'm drinking some yogi tea. I drink yogi tea, the stress reliever. It's a good blend with some honey, some local honey. So, anyways, you'll see me sipping on that, and helping my throat, helping me relax. Um, that's what it's all about. But where was I? What was I saying? So anyway, this is a late jam here. This is a late conversation. Midnight confessions. Maybe that's what I should call it. Midnight confessions. But anyways, yeah, I'm a night bat, so I like to hang around and in the space cave and do my thing, and talk and hopefully continue this. I love the conversations, the comments, like I said. So I'll respond back in my good time. Um, so yeah, just been vibing, just been thinking. Like I said, I watch YouTube videos, and when I was off doing my thing in my distant land, um, I started watching a lot of like home improvement, like carpentry videos, old car restoration videos, and believe it or not, lawn videos. Man, I find a satisfaction when I see some of these lawn guys that go out there and just bust their ass, especially free for the community. I believe in community, and I wish I could do more for my community. I do food pantries where I try to go out um, and meet some of these people and donate. Uh, I have a long distance one I try to go to with a lot of stuff because this town is hurting, and I try to fill up their food pantry. They have like little, somebody built a house with some doors, and you put a lot of food in there, and it doesn't last long. Um, there's sometimes when I'm dropping stuff off before I can turn around, man. I mean, people are lined up wanting to get what I got, and so I try to have a variety of stuff like fruits and vegetables, canned stuff, beans, nutritious stuff. Cereals, pastas, and stuff like that. Stuff that I can. And when I'm not hurting myself, it's I try to really reach out and do what I can for others, because that's the only way, man. That's a part of peace as well, is helping others. And I'm not trying to toot my horn here, but that's kind of what I've been doing. And so going back to these videos, I watch a lot of those, and there's a few. I mean, I find I watch a variety, but I find my guys, man. And I've got in every kind of section, just like on the vinyl community. When you had so much, like back in the day, we had so many people that you find your niche, and you find those that you vibe with, that you communicate with, and that you share something with. And a lot of those people that I used to communicate weekly or daily, we got it together. We got together and we met. I traveled, they traveled, and we just built memories. And I miss those days. I miss the VCLTs. That's what it was called. I used to get some really choice packages from people, and just really music that I still have in my collection here. Um, yeah, I remember Jem would send me some great albums. Sequoia Flame, Raul Citizen Toxie. Man, some of his were my favorite because he would just it was a variety of things, and he was really kind, and went overboard on a lot of stuff. But I still have everything. I dig it. I love it. So I just hopefully I can get to the point where I can start doing that with people again, and because I would try to really find good things or pull things out of my collection that I really thought, hey, this person needs to hear this. And there's some albums, man, I gave up, and it was like, man, I wish I still had that because I can't find it anymore. But it's okay. I'll come across it someday, across the universe. Um, but anyways, yeah, I'm here. I'm digging the vibe again, and it's getting me kind of motivated, kind of inspired to just come and do my thing. But like I said, I wanted to show my records and what I've been spinning, and I'll pull a little batch because like I said, I have piles around which I return to, I listen to, and then sometimes when I'm want to put them up or whatever I do, I'm gonna hold them so I can, even if it's not just right right away that I've listened to them, but just talk about it and try to give just my feelings about the album and impression or whatever. But I also wanted to talk about just some thoughts and stuff. And so, with the YouTube, you come across, you go down those rabbit holes, with videos, at least I do, of just different topics and stuff that I'm, you know, curious about or I want to learn about. And I'm really, really trying to stay away from politics. It it really messes with you, man. And in this day and age, it's all fucked, man. I mean, that's all I can say. Um, I find myself, you get obsessed about it, and you start reposting stuff, you start reading stuff, you start letting it get to you, and like, you know, saturate into your being, and it's so poisonous. It's so disheartening. It all is, man. I mean, really is. And I don't dig it. I don't dig the vibe. It gives me, I'm really an empathetic person. I'm really introverted at a lot of times, but it really does give me anxiety, and it starts messing with me, to the point sometimes it's like I lay in bed just scrolling, and the next thing I know, it's 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, and you talk about it, it's a turn off, and so I've kind of limited myself. I still want to be in the know because I don't want to be one of these people that are walking around not knowing a damn thing. 'Cause I know a lot of them. A lot of them don't understand or see what's going on in the world, and they're just like, "Huh?" And you talk to them and they don't believe you, or they just don't want to believe it, or you know. So I like to be informed. Whatever it is, I like to learn. I love history, good or bad. I excelled in those um, subjects in school and writing, and it's just I love to discover. I like to explore. I like to seek. I like to be open and honest. As best as I can. It's hard sometimes because I want to bite my tongue. I bite my tongue a lot with people, um, and with things going on because I don't want to go down that path because I don't want to be ugly. I don't want to say ugly things or think ugly things or repeat ugly things. So I try to just keep it mellow. And I know a lot of people, if you followed me on social media lately or in the past, you see me repost just shit. And I'm not talking about music. I'm just, when I say shit, it's politics because that's, you know, pardon my language, but that's what it is. We're going to keep it real, man. I mean, that's what it is. It's shit. And I'm so tired of how inconsiderate people are to each other and how hateful and mean, man. I mean, really, I don't dig it. I've lived my life of insults and injuries and being discriminated against and everything else like that. And it is what it is, man. You don't want to know me or see me. You just all you see is the color of my skin or you know that I'm bald or whatever it is. I have a beard. Um, and I don't have time for that, man. Especially as I'm getting older. I don't have time for people that are just downers, narcissism, people that just want to just fuck your day up, man. I really don't. And I've always been apologetic to people, or not apologetic, but defenders and just, oh, they're just having a bad day, and or I'm just that's just the way they are, or that's just the generation they grew up in, or oh, that's just family, or that's just my friend. I don't need it anymore, man. And I've lost several friends and people in my family, to a degree, family. Um, and it's not just, we had a falling out. It's just I just I drift, man. And when something doesn't feel right, to me, you just gotta keep on trucking. You just gotta keep moving down that road, man. And that's what I do. I'm not running from anything, but I don't want to deal with it, especially as I'm getting older. There's no time to waste. We waste so much time and on just petty crap and materialistic things, and um, you know, my worst enemy a lot of my times is my mind. You know, I overthink things a lot. I've always been like that. I take people's tones as a definite sometimes, like, for an example, when somebody says no, I don't want to approach them anymore. I'm one of those people that don't ask for help. God knows I need help a lot, a lot of times, but I don't want to ask anybody. And it's only out of when I approach somebody, or it's out of desperation or anything. And I've done that, but there's been many more times that I haven't. I just do without, or I just try to figure it out. And that's what kind of led me to meditation, discovering, and I'm a painter. I used to be a professional photographer way back when, and so I found a lot of solace and peace, and also my art. I did a lot of paintings and drawings, and I write a lot. I like to talk sometimes. If you follow me on social media, I'll post an old picture of myself from like 20, 30 years ago, and I have a vivid memory on a lot of things, especially memories like that from my childhood and my adolescence and early adult years, and I'll talk about it. And sometimes it's not pretty, but sometimes I'm being honest, and it's kind of, some people respond. Some people that knew me then are like, "Wow, I didn't know that," or "Wow," or they ignore it. I'm used to being ignored a lot, so that's nothing new, and it doesn't hurt me. It's not why I do it. I don't do these videos, and I don't do my writings or anything, my art for approval, anybody's approval. It's just because I like to express things sometimes, and sometimes I regret that I do, tell people things, or I share love. That's the biggest letdown is I love hard sometimes. And then you don't get that love back, or you get ignored, or dismissed, just totally. It's like I said, it's my worst enemy sometimes, and that's something I'm learning as I'm evolving, and I'm trying to be present now, because the past is the past, the future is unknown. But all I can do now is be here now. All I can do now is, you know, say my meditation, say my prayers, try to live a good life, try not to step on people. Um, I don't ever try to do that intentionally. I don't have that in me, but I just, like I said, I just want to live and be happy and just bring joy to others. And so, anyways, um, so yeah, the YouTube, I go down these rabbit holes sometimes, and you think about what people talk about, and I'm not a big conspiracy theory. I believe stuff happens and stuff has happened, and it's hidden, or it's so far out there. Like how could I believe that that's true? But why not? So I try not to be one of these conspiracy theorists that just sound crazy, really. Um, but when you have to kind of step out of that thought and say, well, who's really defending? Do you trust the government? Mother, should I trust the government? I don't. Not really. Um, I just kind of take it as it comes. I try not to put all my faith in that. But there was one I was listening to. I was listening to this. I watch a lot of paranormal stuff too. I like the stories and history, like I said. But I was watching. I don't know what it was. I just came across it. Maybe it was on TikTok or something. Which I'm not a part of that anymore either. Um, but anyways, they were talking about how time, and I know as you get older, time is moving quick. In my opinion, man, my life is moving quickly. I talk about this with my lady all the time about, you know, where did the time go? It seems like something happens a couple years ago and it turns out it's 10 years ago, it's 6 years ago, it's 5 years ago. A year has passed. And you're like, how? Where? You know, it's my birthday, a few days ago, but I turn around and it's fucking Christmas. And it's like, where did the rest of the year go? And that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, every year it just seems like it's moving and moving and moving, and it's kind of scary because especially when I run into people that I haven't seen in a long time, whether they're coworkers or people I've known, friends or whatever, and it's like they've aged like a lot, and hard living or whatever it is, man. It's just like when did we get old? You know, I'm one of those guys. I've always kind of been, but it's kind of like one of those guys that you know I remember when that was this. I go driving and I point. I remember that, or get off my lawn kind of guy. I'm one of those guys. It's just because I have this tolerance so much for people, especially now these days. But I was watching this thing. This guy was talking about I'm not saying that any of this is true or I believe it or whatever, but it's something to think about. And I like to think about things. I like when people talk. When I like to hear people talk about their ideas or music, whatever. And I like to think about it. I like to research it myself, or I like to keep it in my mind. Sometimes I do. Sometimes it just goes out the door. And that's the beauty of the remote control. When you don't like, you're like, what the hell is this guy talking about, or this lady talking about? And it's just it's nothing that I want to further think about. You can change the channel, and that's the beauty of it. Free will. Well, this guy was talking about a time and a time continuum or a time shift, like 2012 or 2010 or even 2000. There was like a time shift, and how it accelerates time, and how we've been sucked into this parallel existence, this universe. And it's like, at first I'm like, but when you start thinking about stuff and how people are always, they talk about manipulating the weather, this or that. Not that I believe in it, like I said, but it's those things that you think about. And you know, I I I listen to stuff about UFOs, the paranormal, all that stuff interests me. And it's just the unknown. It's kind of an adrenaline rush of, man. So I know what I've experienced in my life, especially with the paranormal. And so I have my own thoughts about that. But when it comes to UFOs and stuff like that, and this time shift, you know, why not? I don't know. But this guy was talking about the time shift and how it's accelerated, and it's like we've gone into a twilight zone almost. How everything is so effed up now, and just like stuff that is just like 20 years ago we thought there's no way, like that is out of control, or I can't believe that somebody would attempt to say that or do that. It's like reality now, man, and nobody blinks an eye. That's what's crazy. No one blinks an eye. And there's some of us like me that, like, I turn on the news or the social media and it's like, what? Oh, he said what? Or what happened? You know, like, I always get that first. Is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? I mean, it's like that. And so that's kind of been on my mind. And so then I saw something on top of that. It was this diplomat or somebody from another country or some space organization or something. I can't remember, but they were talking about how I think it was a lady, and she was apologizing for messing up, like destroying like five portals or something for the time or something. I don't know. Like I said, I kind of was like, I don't, I don't know. I don't doubt anything, man. Okay, if you say so. But what if, man? I mean, what if there was this time shift, you know? And it's not just getting older. I mean, that's the circle of life. That's the you get to live longer and you live through this and you know, but what if it was something else? I mean, because it's just like it doesn't things don't seem the same as they used to me. I met a lady the other day. I went to the store to pick something up. I think it was on my birthday, and she was talking about. She saw it was my birthday, or we something was mentioned, and so she started talking about. I grew up in. She goes, I was born in 1969, so I grew up mostly in the 70s and the 80s, and you know, I grew up more in the 80s and um, the 90s. You know, your formative years of mine. So she was like, she's probably like 10 years older than I. But she was like, "Nothing's the same, man. Kids aren't the same." And I know a lot of it's because, and I was like, "Well, a lot of these kids they're so technical. Like I have young nieces and nephews, and they know how to make YouTube videos. I mean, at 4 or 5 years old, they know how to get on the iPad and they can get into their parents' phones, and it's interesting, but it can be dangerous. But it's like they don't know. It's like even my older nieces and nephews. It's like they don't know the simplicities or the things that we went through and the joys of like childhood. I mean, it's not their reality, and they're just like I have to explain it. It's like, and it makes me feel really old, you know. But it's like my former existence of being a child is they'll never know that unless they learn it or have people ask me what were the 90s like it was like me asking what were the 60s like, and it makes me, like I said, it makes me feel old. But yeah, it's time is moving quick. I guess that's what I'm trying to say in a ball. This time is moving quick. And so there is no time for fussing and fighting, my friends. It's the time is now. The time is to live now. And if you can't travel, you can't go far, live your life now. It's never promised. And things can change in an instant. And I'm learning that. I've learned that. I'm continuing. I've known that all my life. But I'm like, damn, my parents are right again, about aging and feeling certain ailments and whatever. But it's like I said, I get in my mind sometimes. I go down these rabbit holes with other people and these thoughts, and I like it. But it's a reality check sometimes. It's of just like the thing with time and mortality and I've been thinking about that lately. It's not because I'm not reminiscing. I've been reminiscing some about my teenage years in the '90s, the music, hearing certain music. I didn't listen to '90s music for I don't know, at least a decade after. I didn't want to hear it because it brought so many memories of people, mostly people and places, and how time has just gone by. I didn't want to be reminded, and so I kind of started exploring other parts of music of the unknowns that I didn't wasn't familiar with growing up. You know, getting to German psychedelia, experimental, uh, just going down that route, and it was more interesting. And so as I'm getting older, I kind of return back to some of my '90s music of what I listened to, and I have the albums, I have the CDs, but um, man, time has gone by, and I think about I have a friend that he was born in my senior year of high school, and you know he doesn't see it. He thinks he thought he was real shocked when he thought I was 10 years younger than I am, but he only thought we were like a decade apart or something. But yeah, he was tripped out, and I tried to go out just get just an extra job kind of a part-time gig at a record store. And I've watched this record grow store grow up to, just in a mercantile, like a antique store selling records to now they've got like they're in a shopping mall. Some of the malls around here are still going, but they've got them in different parts of Texas now. I think he has like 5 stores now. But I went to the local one because they're in the local mall, and I kind of felt weird about it because I haven't worked in retail since I was probably in high school. But I thought, hey, I'd go in and just they made me feel old as fuck. The kid, I call them kids, the person running the store, not the owner, but the manager, I was probably like, I don't know, they were probably in their late teens, early 20s at the most, if that. And then they started asking me about modern music, and I know, but you know, I guess when they came up with what one of the questions in the interview was what like what music turns you off, and my first thought was Taylor Swift and Katy Perry. That's I don't get it. I don't know. I don't go down that route of pop music, and I don't know if that hit me. But anyways, they wanted to pay me $10 an hour. I mean, that was like I haven't made $10 an hour since I think I was in high school, maybe at a job. And then you know, they just made me feel old. A lot of the questions and a lot of the um, like when I would talk about music and I talked about my record collection and what I had and what I dug, they just blank faces, man. And so I don't know if that's shame on them or shame on me because we haven't connected. But the music store now, it was pretty cool when I used to go to the one at the Mercantile, but it's all poppy and I don't know. It's just not my genre. A lot of it, I'd say 80% of it is not my genre of music. And then they made me feel like because of stuff I like, whether it's something from the 90s or beyond back further, they made me feel like I was a disease or something. Yeah. And so, uh, unfortunately, the one friend that I connected had a record store. He passed away last year. He had a he had a traumatic fall and became paralyzed, and he didn't make it. And this guy was a good friend, and I had an opportunity after he passed away to. I guess they were trying to find somebody, and one for being too far, but also I haven't been back to the store because he fell in the store, and um, I don't know. I have very fond memories. I had a lot of great conversations. He even DJ'd my wedding, and I've known the guy for over 20 years. Bought a lot of records, and showed a lot of his records that I bought from him, or he gifted me, or whatever it is. But I don't know. I kind of just hung it up after that interview, and I was like, I don't like to. I also don't like to work at somewhere that I like to go because if something happens or falling out, or I see the behind the scenes stuff, I don't want to be there. Like I don't want to go. I'm one of those guys that I just avoid it, and I don't patronize those stores anymore. But um, yeah. But anyways, yeah, just having a lot of thoughts in my head. I'm kind of all over the place right now, but I'll show you some records that I got. The first two, what I bought for my birthday. So this is a promo press. I don't. The guy only had 2 albums, but I like the cover, so I brought it home, and I really like this album. I can't find a lot of information, but this was a promotional. Um, this is called. This guy's Paul Massey. Motels and Stations. I think it was 1969. Um, I don't know. I kind of just looking at the cover and looking at the songs. Um, Also being on Liberty Records, I usually, especially with Can Heat, I really enjoy a lot of stuff. There's, like I said, like if you find a Polydor album, I usually like it, so buy it. Of course the main albums, but Liberty Records is one of those, and I want to get his first. I want to get his first album. I think it's called Butterfly Lake. I think it's more psychedelic. This one kind of reminded me had a feeling of like don't know how to best describe it. It was like, and this is kind of like a folk rock album, I'd say. Um, when the flutes hit, when there's flutes, and I think Paul plays like a classical guitar, but it's not classical music. It's not country, but I would say it was like folk rock. But it kind of reminds me of Glenn Campbell ish, Wichita Lineman. Uh, I was listening to it the other day. It was real cloudy and windy and started to rain. Had a real good rain, and I was listening to this as I was listening to all that was happening. Um, and this kind of reminds me of like a travel record. You know, you go through these sleepy towns, especially me growing up and seeing that last bit of that from former generations. You know, reality, and going through these little towns, especially here in Texas, traveling like to my grandparents' house and all the towns in between our house and their house. Um, Driving on these secluded roads, um, giving that kind of vibe. That's what this kind of reminded me of. And stopping at these kind of filling stations, you know, growing up, I remember. Um, Big thing here in Texas, I don't see it a lot of, but you see these old farmers driving these old trucks, and they always waved at you. You know, I miss that. I miss that kindness that we used to have, especially with an older generation. They'd wave at you, they'd flash their lights when there's a cop up the road, or you know, they were just decent. You know, not everybody was a shitheel back then. You know, there were good people, and there were people that were they were farmers, they were workers. I come from a working class family of educators and farmers, and so a lot of when those two groups, the working man, the blue collar, are hurt, especially by the government, you know, affects me like in my mind, in my heart, because I think about my grandparents, think about my uncles and my aunts and my great aunts and uncles, you know, that built a lot of this country, that were veterans, you know, you know. My grandmother, she went to California and worked in missile plants in World War II. My grandfather was, he was in the Coast Guard, and then everybody was doing their thing, and then when they'd come back and do their lives, they would just rebuild, and so it kind of reminded me. I was sitting there reminiscing the other day, and I was thinking, and I thought about this, and it was damn good. It was just a blind pickup, like I said, in a dollar bin, and something spoke when I was looking through all these albums. There's always duds in there, but this one spoke to me, and it looked interesting, and I'm glad I picked it up. I have that instinct on albums and stuff like that, books. This one's cool. It's a UK Arabic album. Um, I don't know if it's Indian or if it's Iran, Iran, Iranian, Egyptian maybe. But this is I don't know. I'll try it. Kulthum, maybe. Kulthum. Light in the Desert. This is an early '70s UK press, and it really just feels like I'll pull it out, but it has a cool label. It just feels like you're at a which is kind of cool. I like the font. It's kind of like you're at a market, man. It's like you're at a. When I listened to this, it was kind of like the recording's kind of distant, but it was like it's almost like a field recording almost. But like I said, man, I have a big collection of Indian and world music, African records, Latin records, world records. But you know, a lot of my Indian records are some of my treasured records because it's just not all Ravi Shankar. It's a lot of just different players and unknowns and stuff like this. I try to find when I pick that up. When I find that, I was like, interesting. So another one, I really like that. So those are two out of the little stack I got. And like I said, I'll probably show those next. Hopefully, I'll have listened to them. But here was a blind pool I pulled the other day. The Running Man, 1972 on Neon Records. Um, Kind of like a psychedelic prog, I guess. Some really good moments on here, and yeah, what can I say? I'm trying to think what was a standout track on here. Um, Maybe Spirit. I really like the song Spirit. It's got good jams, good guitar, drums, bass, organ. I guess this is a European press. Um, I think I got this. It's on the Vinyl Lover Lilith Records, 2008. These are the early days of the vinyl community. I remember getting this, but I hadn't listened to it in a while, so I pulled it out. I think that's Yoko Ono's Silhouette. I remember there's a Yoko pictures that she's posed like that. That looks like her. But anyways, it's got a little quote on the back: "Your children are not your children; they are the sons and daughters of life's longing for itself." So I like little messages like that. So the Running Man. This is another one I used to listen to a lot, especially when I was out working. I used to play my psychedelic music because I was usually out on my own driving and going to different stations and just doing a lot of field work. But this is one I bought again in the early days of the vinyl community, and this is a repress as well, a UK of an apple a day. And I used to listen to this. I used to make my mix CDs and stuff. I had a CD player in my work truck, and the song "The Other Side" it just gets me, man. That guitar, it's just so piercing and just I don't know. It speaks to me, and I feel it. I really felt that song. I really feel that song when I hear it. But this is on Gerson Records, early one of the early ones. I think this came out in late '60s. This is a fold over. Yeah, an apple a day was that's the name, and the band is Apple, the Apple. So, anyways, yeah, pulled that out and listened to that one late night. Here's a compilation. It's another Vinyl Lovers. Um, this is the Wildflowers. This is a band that was, I guess, it was combined of the Future Soft Machine and I believe Caravan. So kind of that Canterbury scene. Really sounds more like early um, Soft Machine. But have Kevin Ayers, Robert Wyatt, David Sinclair, Pi Hastings, Hugh Hopper, Brian Hopper, Richard Sinclair. You have David and Richard, Graham Flight, and Richard Coughlin. And like I said, this is sounds like early Soft Machine, what they eventually turned into, but also has that folk aspect to it. So, anyways, this was kind of a compilation that I don't know originally when it came out. I know it wasn't this one. This version is a 2009, but I know there was an earlier. I think on CD. But yeah, this was the Wildflowers. Listened to that recently. Um, Going into Robert Wyatt. Um, this one's called 68. I got this another early, but I remember it was damaged or something like right here in a crease. Um, and I couldn't return it, and I remember I was real disappointed, and I don't know, I kind of just stuck it up on my shelf, and I pulled it out, and really dig it. It was 2013 release, and it says Robert Wyatt. Jimi Hendrix is on bass. Hugh Hopper and Mike Ratledge, and again, Moon and June, Slow Walk and Talk, Chelsea and rhythmic melodies. So that's a treasured. It's on a white vinyl. So yes, Robert White, another one of my favorites. I love the Soft Machine. I've got several of their albums, and I listen to them often. So here's a dollar fine. I didn't have. I love this band as well. Focus. I think this is their fourth album, maybe Hamburger Concerto. Uh, Killer jams, man. Killer jams. This is on the I believe the Echo Records. The old label, colorful label. Um, Standout track to me I was listening to is Birth. The whole thing is damn good. Um, you just got that you got that jam, man. They write good songs. This is I remember I think my first album from Focus was their third album, and I really just fell in love with them then. Another underrated band in my opinion that a lot of people need to discover if you don't know them. But it's got flute, man. It's got flute. I love the flute. Very ethereal. I love that feel, that sound. It's so soothing. I grew up listening to a lot of Jethro Tull from my dad and my sister. She played flute. Um, Definitely when she was in middle school, maybe in high school. But my dad went out and bought her a Jethro Tull album. Says, study this, and our teacher wasn't real thrilled about it. But so yeah, I don't know if that's where it started from. Maybe watching Kung Fu on Sunday and hearing those, the wooden flutes, or I don't know, man. But so any band that when I see that on their flutes, sitars, organ, moog, whatever, it turns me on. Oh man, it's gonna be another long one. I pulled this out. I've been listening to digging a lot of Robert Plant stuff lately. Not that I not that I never stop thinking or listening to any of his music, whether it be Led Zeppelin or whether it be it's his solo stuff. But I've been watching a lot of. I've been seeing him on the late night circuits on TV with his new band, and unfortunately, I missed his last show last month. He played in an old theater in downtown Dallas that I love seeing. I think the last show I saw there was maybe Buddy Guy, but an old stage and everything. And Vance was there. He came down, and I didn't get to see him. I thought we were gonna hook up, man. But anyways, I used to like this back when I was growing up. I had this on tape or CD. I know I had it on CD eventually, but Tall Cool One. That was the one you hear on the um, on the radio, and then I think it was Dance on My Own or Heaven Knows, and that Tall Cool One. Jimmy Page plays. Um, Maybe Heaven Knows, but play solo. But they kind of on Tall Cool One. You probably know that song. In the mix, you hear a lot of Led Zeppelin kind of samples in there, but kind of dated '80s. But I always loved that. I always loved that cover as well. You know, but Now and Zen. He had Manic Nirvana, I think, after this, and then just I like his direction where he kind of stayed with the Eastern music, and then when they had the No Quarter back, I think I was in high school when that came out, and those versions, with Yala, I think, Wonderful One, where they had the hand drums, and they had, just that whole feel. I wish that would come out on vinyl, man, reissued. That was a CD I listened to a lot, and I have the DVD of the show. That's one of the best unplugged. I guess the whole um, vibe. And then I saw the tour walking to Clarksdale, and I got to talk to Robert and Jimmy. So I have fond memories of that, and I've seen Jimmy Page several times. I mean, not Jimmy Page, Robert Plant several times. Last being in a little club in Deep Ellum, and I took my dad to that. He'd never seen Led Zeppelin or anything growing up, but he loves Led Zeppelin. But anyways, it's 1988. Now and Zen. I wanted to just pull that out the other day and listen to it. I'm going to be pulling a lot more of his solo out. Just I'm intrigued, man. I mean, I love him, and I love his view of life and just his humbleness and his I don't know. I was talking to him. I won't get into that. Anyways, uh, and I've been wanting to listen to this. I've heard it so many times. Led Zeppelin 4. Um, Man, I should have pulled that out. I'm not gonna go over there because I'll knock everything down. But I've got a nice bootleg of this that I found several years ago that I'll show. Maybe I'll pull it out maybe in the next video. Um, different, just a different thing I never seen. But anyways, what can I say about this album, man? This is my original copy. I probably got this in the early '90s from maybe a resale when everybody was giving up their vinyl for CDs. I hit the jackpot, man. I was going to this thrift shop. We had one thrift shop in town, and I think it used to be a True Value hardware store, and it turned into this local thrift store. And so the vinyl was overflowing, 50 cents a record. And so of course I'm going for the staples. I just think about what did I miss, what did I lose out on because I didn't know. But anyways, this was the copy. Looks immaculate still. You know, I first bought. I think this was the first Zeppelin album I bought. Uh, I had some money mowing lawns, and I went to the local Walmart. We lived in a small town, and I bought Led Zeppelin 4. And around this time, I got hit by a car on my bike. These assholes. I was pulling up to a stop sign to cross, and they just ran into me, man, and they knocked me down. And I remember laying on the ground, like knocked the breath out of me, and looking up at them laying down, and they're just looking out over at me, like looking down, and just drove off. Didn't get out, didn't say shit, and so I was really shocked by that. And I'm like I just remember like I could see myself, and I don't know if I can't remember if they damaged my bike, but I shortly after that I started walking. I was getting to that age where I was too young to drive, but too old to ride a bike. So always had my pair of blue jeans on, my black T-shirt, and my Walkman, my Sony Walkman, black and gray. And I bought this. I bought this on tape, and I remember my sister giving me shit. I think she was in her Cure and Depeche Mode phase, but she's like, "Why would you buy Led Zeppelin?" And But anyways, it was a guy thing, I guess. And I had a couple friends, maybe one friend that really liked this. So he was more into like Guns N' Roses, Metallica, and Ozzy. And I was into Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, and Black Sabbath, and Pink Floyd. I was discovering more Pink Floyd. Um, on my first Pink Floyd tape was Dark Side of the Moon, and but I got the Zoso album, the number 4, and I just remember listening to it and studying that. And I listened to like going to California. I remember there was this hillside I always lay on. Strawberry fields. I have my memories, but I remember going to California. It was kind of when I'd sit down to rest by the time of that album before the ending. And man, I remember there was also this show late at night. I'd stay up real late, and they'd have these, I don't know, infomercials, and then they'd have these other shows on the other channel. It was like satanic music playing the records backwards, and they talked a lot about Led Zeppelin, and they did Stairway to Heaven. So of course, that only turned me on. Started messing with the Ouija board, Black Sabbath, going into the darker states of rock, Helter Skelter, number nine. So, anyways, this is the beginning of my journey. And then when I discovered Houses of the Holy, Led Zeppelin 3, it's all around. I mean, it was all combining. Zeppelin 3, A Whole Lot of Love was we had a station here one time, man, and they would always play weird shit. And I remember they were playing like I think there was a radio station closing down, and they just played a repeat all weekend of Revolution 9. And then they would play like Led Zeppelin or A Whole Lot of Love and play it backwards. I mean, it was just weird. It was weird, but it was cool, man. Back in the day, those are the kind of things I like. But anyways, I discovered, and a lot of weird stuff. And um, I don't know, just I saw some weird things and did some weird things, and I was attracted to like dark cults and go hang out in a cemetery with my friends, and old cemeteries overgrown. And I don't know. This is always a soundtrack. A few more. It's getting real long. I pulled this out randomly the other day. Um, this is Blue Jays by Justin Hayward and John Lodge of one of my favorite bands, um, the Moody Blues. What a beautiful album, man. This is, I think maybe their only joint effort record together. Sounds like it could be a Moody Blues album, but just so positive, man. They don't make songs and albums like this anymore. And I played this constantly the other day. "Remember Me, My Friend," the second song, and just the lyrics and the feeling and the beauty of the lyrics. Um, it's kind of touching because I thought about some people, and yeah, 1975 release, I believe, Threshold Records. So I have a around that time with the Led Zeppelin and all that. I had this circle of music, and Days of Future Past was part of that. And whenever I show that, because that's one of the albums I pulled out lately, I'll talk about that in my memories. But a great album, dollar fine, you know. But even if you don't find it for $1, man, pick it up. It's a good album if you like, some songwriter, you like some Moody Blues, as I do, check that out. And I guess the last, there's two more. I pulled this one out. It's one of my favorite albums, and it's kind of just time repeating itself, man. Marvin Gaye, What's Going On? Um, Man, I had a lot of plays with this probably in my late teens. Yeah, I'd say late teens. I don't think I was out of high school yet, but man, did a lot of driving to this in my 20s growing up. I still listen to it. I pull it out every once in a while, but it's just a testament of what's going on. Of you know, 50 years later, when this come out in 71, over 50, almost. I don't know, coming up, going to be what 60 years, eventually in a few years. Um, the madness is still going on, man. Inner city blues, throw my hands up in the air. I can't pay my taxes. Send that boy off to die. You know, what a beautiful rebellious album at the time of Marvin. I mean, Marvin was a prophet. Marvin was an angel. He could sing from the heavens, and just a beautiful, beautiful man. Even at his lowest, he brought out the beauty. He shared his beautiful visions, his feelings, his life. What's going on? The last one was one of the last albums I think I bought. I got it real cheap, but it was um, the Pentangling. I think this is a compilation, but it's got great songs. It's a 2021 release. Um, so yeah, I love this. Is another great band. We just lost the drummer, and before that, the bassist. I was fortunate to see Bert Yanish. I think a year or two before he passed away. Didn't know he was sick. So I was really shocked, but he played just him and his guitar. I saw him, and man, this music just puts me in a spot. This is like again, Fairport Convention. I also would go far of saying Oregon. Oregon is another one of my favorite, which Ralph Towner passed away. That was another person that, when I was speaking about all these people passing away, I played a Ralph Towner, and who was he with? Slipped my mind. But I played one of his albums recently. But I was kind of sad to go through the Oregon phase, because Oregon is one of those bands like Pentangle that there's a certain time in my life that I turned to that music, and I was into it heavy. You know, I love that folk, jazz folk. You know, even with Oregon, you have Michael Walcott on there with the sitar and just bringing that aura and that vibe with this beautiful music. And but anyways, I'm gonna end it with the pentangle. This is longer than the last one. Sorry, but I guess this is what conversation does. I could just come in here and just boom, 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 show records in 10 minutes and be done with it. But like I said, man, I like to sit back and relax. I got my Chesterfield couch here that I've been wanting for years, and I found one a few years ago um, on a marketplace. This older guy was selling, and got one hell of a deal for this. So it's just the right size. All I need now to complete the circle is my Persian rug. So um, yeah. But anyways, hope everybody's doing well. I'm going to end it there, and remember, peace, and love. Be good to others and be good to yourself. And don't ever give up. Don't ever uh, take no. Don't let people, and don't be shitty to other people. Take care, and I'll see you on the flip side. Peace.